Crowhill here. Today we review an IPA and ask, is Scientology a religion, a cult, or science fiction? Hey,
well, funny seeing you here.
All right.
How about some beer and conversation?
That's a great idea. So what are we drinking?
This is an IPA from good old Sierra Nevada.
Okay. They're a reliable brewer.
Yes, they are. What's on your mind?
So, I have a question for you. You have a choice.
Right.
You've just had a kid, and an angel appears to you and says, you have a choice with this child. When this child turns 18, they're either going to be a Scientologist or they're going to be woke.
Well, I would say that at least woke doesn't abandon their friends and family.
Well, wait
or
a minute.
do they?
Or do they?
Okay, here, let's take a beer.
I think we need to drink a beer.
So there's, Sierra Nevada is probably the original American pale ale.
Yeah.
Right. It was craft beer before there was craft beer.
Right.
Then they made the Torpedo, which is their jacked up version, and it usually comes in around 7.72.
And an excellent beer.
So good and so reasonably priced.
Yeah.
But then I found a 12-pack that had 4 different
versions of Torpedo.
Of Torpedo, regular Torpedo.
Because that's the American.
There's Atomic Torpedo, which is 9%.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 I never heard of, including this one. Which is American.
That's Americans for you. Like we've got this thing. Okay, fine, but now we need to make 12 different
things. Yes, can we attach fireworks to it
That's right.
And a gun.
Yeah. So this is cold IPA.
So this is the cold version.
Which is weird because IPAs are usually not, a lager would be fermented cold, not an IPA. But I think what they mean by cold IPA is that it's going to be more crisp.
Okay, yes. Because like they say, when Coors advertises their cold beer, I'm like, yeah, it's as cold as it's as cold as anybody wants to make it, or not. You don't control the coldness.
A long time ago, people used to say that if a beer got warm and then cold again, it would taste different.
Yes.
And I found...
Mythbusters.
I actually found that there was one beer that was particularly true with. And that was Michelob. Like with other beers, I didn't think it was really true. But with Michelob, if it got warm and then cold again, you could definitely taste the difference.
You still standing by that? Or
I am.
When was the last time you had
Michelob?
Warm, cold?
20 years ago.
All right, let's see here. So it's very clear.
Yes.
And
like a West Coast IPA.
Yeah, like a West Coast IPA.
Not a ton of aroma on it.
It says it's going to be fruitier than your normal Torpedo. So
a touch of that. It is lighter. It is lighter and a little crisper than a regular Torpedo.
A regular Torpedo has that thick aftertaste, which I like. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Has that thick, malty,
but if you say crisp,
yeah,
you mean that it's not going to have that.
That's right, and that's what you get.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is. It's a clean finish, as they say.
Yeah, I like it. It's very drinkable, very good.
Right.
Okay, so Scientology.
L. Ron. What is the L? Do you know what the L is?
Oh gosh, I heard it in one of...
Oh, no, here it is, Lafayette.
Lafayette, there you go. I should know that because my next door neighbor was named Lafayette. He went by Leif.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, L. Ron Hubbard founded Scientology in the early 1950s.
Huh, okay.
And it combines...
But a little more background story. He was in the Navy.
Yeah.
He was born in 1911 in Nebraska. Actually went to George Washington University.
Okay.
And in D.C. Engineering. Was in the Navy during the war. But, I don't think he got further off the coast of...
Didn't do any of the things that he later claimed that he did.
No,
which is a common theme with a lot of these guys. Tail Gunner Joe.
Yes, Tail Gunner Joe. Yeah, so he was writing fiction and not doing a lot of fighting.
Writing fiction, which sometimes meant his resume. But in terms of writing fiction, this guy wrote, like, zillions of books.
I think it's Guinness Book of most publications.
Yeah. So obviously he was a genius.
The guy can write.
Yeah, obviously he was a genius because that level of productivity.
And didn't finish college, once again.
There you go. That level of productivity and that, being able to do that, that's obviously genius level stuff. So
yes, he is.
He was a very smart man. But somewhat of a liar and, exaggerating his own record, and apparently went through a couple of wives. I don't remember the details on that one.
Yes. And so I think he's doing all right as a fiction writer.
Yeah.
But then he, what spawns the Dianetics?
Yeah. Well, so one thing about Dianetics is a rejection of psychology and psychiatry as being not the right path. So Dianetics was, I think what the origin of Scientology was, he was thinking, how can I become rich? And writing fiction is, it's making me money. I'm earning a living, but it's not making me rich. So how can I really become rich? And I think his first attempt at that was the self-help stuff, because self-help stuff sells like crazy.
Yeah.
But then his second choice was, the real way to become rich is to start a religion.
Yes. Now, back to Dianetics. I saw the book in my house. Mm-hmm. My mom read it. It was interesting. The Dianetics part is very psychological.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't stray very far from that. It's funny that they are so anti-psychologist and psychiatry. Psychiatry, I get, if you want to get off the drugs.
The drugs, yeah.
But the psychology, when it's really kind of rooted in it's not that far from regular psychology in that you have deep-seated issues that you haven't dealt with.
Yes.
And that's what's holding you back from being a more fulfilled person.
Yes.
Which sounds, perfectly...
And when Jordan Peterson was interviewing that weirdo guy from Scientology...
Poor guy raised in
Scientology, yeah. And he was talking about some of the things. He's like, yeah, that's just normal psychology. That's just normal therapy, what you're talking about.
It's right. It's but then they take the psychological experience that you have internalized that has created some level of difficulty in your life. No, I mean in psychological terms.
Yeah.
Then they get reclassified as engrams.
Right. Yeah. So that's when you start to layer on all the science fiction stuff on top of Dianetics, right? So, like, the basic idea is that the problems that you have aren't really your fault.
Right.
That the reason you're suffering all these things is because you have these negative things called engrams that are a result of bad experiences from your youth and then things other people have done to you and other stuff that's happened to you that you're not responsible for. And once you realize those things and address them, then you can get past them and you can live a more satisfying life.
That sounds like straight up psychology.
That's not an unreasonable thing.
That's just behavioral modification therapy and
yeah. So why did he feel the need to introduce this idea of thetans and cosmic dictators throwing people into volcanoes and all this other kind of stuff?
Right. So that the guy's been writing science fiction for so long, he just couldn't stop himself.
That's right.
So I look at it, he's like, all right, so I've got this thing going on. The engrams, that's just a different word for,
bad experiences.
Psychological baggage, I think is fair.
So I think he one of the big things in Scientology is the difference between the reactive and the analytical mind.
Okay. And it's not that, which is not that different from the subconscious.
Right. Yeah. So the reactive mind stores painful, traumatic memories, which he calls engrams. And you find out about these things through auditing, which is the process you go through in Scientology when you first sign up.
And how would it have been addressed in Dianetics?
Yeah, I'm not as clear on the difference between Dianetics and Scientology. Right. It kind of all becomes a blur. But so you go through this auditing process where you realize these problems that you have through these engrams, and the idea is to get rid of your reactive mind and you get clear so that you're no longer a reactive mind, you're an analytical mind.
Yeah.
Right. And it's done with something called an e-meter, which is essentially a galvanometer, which I think what it does is it measures electrical conductivity across your skin.
Right, which is related to moisture on your skin.
So basically it has to do with your sweating.
Right.
And you might be sweating at times when you're more emotionally, So there is somewhat of a scientific basis to that.
Right. So if you ask somebody about their relationship with their dad and they're kind of lukewarm about it, and their relationship with their mother, and they get more emotional, even if they don't appear to, it can be read on the meter. And so, I mean, it's not complete BS.
No, that part of it. I mean, there's something to that.
Right. It's like it's like a lie detector test, really. Right. You're recognizing a change in the reaction. Like, all right, so there's something going on here when I say banana.
Right. When I use this word, for some reason you have this reaction.
Yeah. So let's dig into that. Why is it?
Why is it that word bothers you so much?
You say
so it's sold as kind of a bridge to freedom, that you are discovering all these things that are holding you back. You're discovering all these suppressed engrams that have been ruining your life, and you're learning to address them and to clear yourself of them so that you can have a better life.
And that is the hook at the freshman level.
Yes. And to some extent, of course, that's going to help a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
If people just
addressing trauma, and perhaps trauma that you're not even aware of.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's all straight up.
The vast majority of people don't even have the self-awareness to think about the things that are troubling them, or the things that
that my bad choices, my bad behavior are rooted in some other cause. You're just like, I don't know. I just make dumb decisions.
That's right. So most people just kind of stumble through life. So if you're going to be self-aware enough to look at your life and try to evaluate it and try to figure out, why do I do these stupid things that I do? Obviously, that's going to help you.
Yeah, so this is, I think this is a very...
in some ways, a healthy thing.
And a very generous view of Scientology at that level. Entry level.
Yes. So I think you have to recognize that most people stumble through life with no recognition or awareness, self-reflection or awareness whatsoever about why they do things or what's messing them up. So even any sort of an attempt to get people to focus on that and think about that and correct it is going to have some positive thing about it.
Right. Okay.
However,
now, these clearing sessions aren't free.
No, they cost a lot of
money.
So
you're not going into the church's confession booth.
That's right.
After putting a little something in the collection.
That's right, folks. If you really need some help, go talk to a priest. It doesn't cost anything.
Yes. So these auditing sessions are not cheap, and you're increasingly isolated.
Yeah, because they try to get you away from your family and friends.
Because it's
very cult-like.
And you're getting away with the people with the negative vibe.
Yeah. So all these people are the ones who've been causing these engrams in the first place. So you need to get away from them and get yourself clear.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you get to other levels, then you realize actually a lot of these engrams came from previous lives.
So the bait is all the things that are wrong with you are not your fault. They're caused by the reactive mind resulting from the engrams of things that happened to you. But the switch is, no, it's actually all your fault.
And you have let's get to, how do we do this? Let's get to the Thetan. So the Thetan is kind of like
oh my gosh,
well,
it is such weirdness.
But it could be a stand-in for, let's just say, a soul. So there's the you that it lives inside of your fleshy body.
Right. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
So there's that. But it somehow goes back trillions of years.
That's when the science fiction writer comes in.
Yes. Before there was a physical universe, there was a non-physical universe, right? And then and then these gods decided this is boring, and let's make a physical universe to intentionally trap ourselves in so that we can fight our own way out, or right about something like this.
Something like that, yeah.
And then the technology is, strangely 1960s.
Yes.
So that your thetan is in a glycol solution.
Around 75 million years ago, the Galactic Confederacy.
Yeah. So great. So
Star Wars.
The universe looks very Star Warsy.
Yes.
Battlestar Galactica.
A coalition of planets ruled by a dictator named Xenu. Like how L. Ron Hubbard knew the name of a 75 million year old dictator, I don't know.
No, nobody's ever asked.
They were facing severe overpopulation. To address this, Xenu ordered the capture of billions of people across his confederation.
Okay.
These beings were then transported to Earth, which was called Tigak at the time. And on Earth,
right,
Xenu placed these beings near volcanoes, detonated hydrogen bombs.
Which had been invented like 10 years earlier.
Right, but somehow Xenu knew about them.
Right, but he wouldn't have any more sophisticated bomb technology than human beings in the 1950s.
That's right.
Yeah, no way.
Causing the spirits or thetans of these individuals to be scattered.
Yes.
These thetans, traumatized and disoriented, were then gathered and subjected to implanting with false memories, images, and emotional responses. And these things are what causes all of our trouble.
And these things, I think they were just floating around, right? Yeah. Until humans evolved. So evolution is very, so Scientology is very cool with the whole evolution. Yep. And then they jumped in the bodies?
I guess the thing is, you had these disoriented, confused thetans floating around. And then all of a sudden they go, hey, wait a minute, maybe I could get inside of that. And they...
Yeah. As far as I could tell.
And they attach themselves to these, newly evolved human-like things. And that results in having all these false memories and stupid cultural, religious concepts and things. All those things have contributed to human suffering because that's all just the confused thetan in us.
And so each of us has a thetan, and that's...
Okay,
are you really a thetan with a dumb, fleshy body?
Yeah, so I think that yes, you are a thetan with a body, or a thetan in a body, or something like that. They make there's some argument about the pronouns there, or not the whatever the words are, but also apparently other thetans sort of attach to you. Once you get into the high levels, you have to realize that you need to clear all the thetans that are attached to you, or something weird like that.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't get that part, really, because I thought it was a one for one, and then you had engrams to deal with. And these once you get rid of all your engrams and go clear, that means, is it sort of like, in a Buddhist sense, you are free from recycling back through bodies again?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know, where do you go? Do you go to Xenu's palace?
These traumatized thetans, now known as body thetans, are said to attach themselves to human beings, influencing thoughts, emotions, and behavior in negative ways. One of the main goals of advanced Scientology practices, particularly at the OT, the higher levels, is to rid oneself of these body thetans through specific auditing techniques, achieving greater spiritual freedom and clarity.
And are these free?
No, nothing's free. Nothing is free.
And there's a little bit of marketing here. If you bring somebody in,
you get a portion of
the money that they pay to. So
although it's not a pyramid scheme, like in Amway or something like that, if you bring somebody in, you not only get a portion of their stuff, but a portion of the next.
So it's one level.
Yeah, it's only one level in Scientology, and also. If I'm a Scientologist and I bring you in and I start getting a portion of your stuff, and then you realize Crowhill stinks at this and you go off to have some other sponsor, I lose the money and that guy gets the money.
Okay, so you got to stay on top of your mentorship.
Yes, you do. So there are a bunch of rules in Scientology. There are so-called 8 dynamics.
Right. Hold on. What about Sea Org?
What is that?
That's so to get out of the tax problems that R.L. Hubbard...
Tax Sea Org, you mean?
This is like another level. Are the people that live on boats.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they're kind of physically out of the reach of the government, but they also are completely isolated in that, well, they wear a military style uniform, and they're only surrounded with their own folks.
Their own people.
You are really deep in. So that is a higher level.
And those people, they're treated in the tax code like monks or nuns or something like that.
Great. Right. They also sign are they the ones that sign a billion-year contract?
Yeah, they sign these billion-year contracts, that's pretty interesting.
Which seems dumb until you realize, wait a minute, I keep coming back.
Yeah, well, but how do they enforce it? Like, are they going to go up to somebody? Is somebody going to come up to me and said, your previous student signed a billion-year contract and you're obligated to it?
Ah, shoot. Okay.
Darn it. Okay, I guess so. Can you show me the contract? Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty weird. And that gets into the whole question of why is Scientology considered a religion?
Well, thank you very much. So, yes, there was a period where they were...
There was a lot of conflict over that. Yeah.
I mean, what is the government's criteria for tax exemption as a religious...
Something. They have to have some rule to say, yes, this is a religion, no, this is not a religion.
All right, well, let's pursue that a little bit. So what, in your mind, without looking at anybody's rules, what constitutes a religion, or as we opened, a cult, or a space-age self-help group?
So it would seem to me that a religion would have to have a worldview, explaining, where we come from, that sort of thing.
All right, well, check. We got that.
It would have to have certain practices. Mm-hmm. There has to be, we think of the word cult in a bad way because we think of cults. But the word cult actually just kind of refers to practices and the things that you do. So there would have to be a practice aspect to it. It would have to be, generally speaking, it would have to be oriented towards something supernatural, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure where the government would stand on that.
Is there any divine revelation that is necessary?
I don't know, because obviously Christianity, Judaism, Islam all have a concept of divine revelation. Buddhism, not so much divine revelation as the Buddha achieves enlightenment and passes on. So I'm not sure how divine revelation fits in.
Yeah, I know that. No, I agree. How about Hindu?
Yeah.
I realize it's like a central figure.
Well, no. I mean, in Hinduism, you do have divine revelation. You have Krishna, who is, almost Christ-like kind of a figure, who is speaking things. There's more of a sense of divine revelation in Hinduism than there is in Buddhism.
Yeah, Buddhism is a spiritual philosophy, but it would be hard to call it. So if you're in LA and you're accepting Buddhism, then what stops you? Yeah, I would love to see how that court case went, or
what are the tests? What are the rules? What are the tests? Where do you divide the line? Because you're right. If you're going to accept Buddhism as a religion, then why not Scientology?
Yeah. Taoism.
Does it have to have a certain does it have to be around for a certain length of time?
Yeah, there's a difference between a cult and a religion, like the number of members or the number of years that it's been around. Those are two things.
Come up with an equation. Number of members times number of years divided by. Yeah.
How would you know?
I don't know.
But what about the cultiness?
Well, there's different ways to think of cultiness. One is what I was saying before, is just the cult, meaning the religious actions, the rituals, the sacraments, that sort of thing. But in the way we normally use the word cultiness is more in the sense of control of members, people being kind of brainwashed, people being separated. From that perspective, Scientology is absolutely a cult because it definitely forces family separation. Mm-hmm. And if you're in Scientology and your family's in Scientology and you leave Scientology, the Scientologist will tell all your family members to have no contact with you anymore.
Yes. But unlike wokeness, where people are just free to have any political opinions they want without affecting their relationship with their family members.
Is that right? I mean,
it wasn't until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
it wasn't until 8 days ago.
Well, all this stuff on Twitter about like you shouldn't have Thanksgiving.
You should not have Thanksgiving or Christmas with anybody that voted
for Trump.
It never goes the other way, though.
You should totally separate yourself from those people because
So that is
wokeness is a cult.
Okay, yeah. You're saying it.
Yeah, wokeness is a cult.
All right, got another topic for a show. Yes, wokeness is a cult, and so what about David Miscavige, who has taken over after the death of L. Ron Hubbard? So there's only been 2 leaders, L. Ron and Miscavige. Is he? So cultiness is revolving around a central figure, right? That's an aspect of.
That's another key point of cultiness, is it usually focuses around an individual. Yeah. So, for example, in the Roman Catholic Church, there was this group that was following after this guy named Father Marcial Maciel,
right?
And it was very culty within the Catholic Church because it was focused too much on this particular man. Yeah. Like they'd celebrate his birthday,
right. That's when you start to get the little hints of
something's wrong here.
Now we're sliding into cultiness.
Yes. Yeah, and they were also kind of separate and other kinds of things. But so having a focus on a particular individual as the leader is another mark of a cult.
And are we saying that that's going on here with David Miscavige?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was certainly true with L. Ron Hubbard. I don't know what the attitude of more modern Scientologists is towards this guy, but there are these levels. You have these really high level OT Scientologists who supposedly know all this stuff, and you listen to the Jordan Peterson interview with that guy who escaped.
Yes.
That was very interesting because the thing that helped him to get out was there was this mythology or this story that there are these higher level things in Scientology that reveals some great thing. I don't know what it is. Something analogous to heaven. And this guy found out that it was all bullshit, and that, sorry, I have to mark this one as explicit. This guy found out that all this higher level stuff just didn't really exist. The OTs, the people who are way high up in the organization,
the Tom Cruises,
said no, none of that stuff's real. And then that to him was like the end. It's like, well, if that's not true, then. So
this guy, that guy got that far.
Yeah, he got far enough to be able to rub elbows with these people and to find out from them.
And that's where you got all the space age stuff, because that you don't get that at the lower levels.
Right.
The Xenu and the hydrogen bombs.
I can't imagine that they invite somebody in off the street and say, "Hey, do you want to?"
No.
And we're going to tell you about people who were frozen in glycol and exploded with bombs 75 million years ago.
But even. If you're Tom Cruise and John Travolta, and it's making your life better.
Yeah.
You're killing it in Hollywood. You're healthier. You're not doing. You're off drugs or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then you get to, all right, come in for phase 7, and then they
you learn
they
about
they put on a slideshow. 75 trillion years ago.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess I'm in this far.
I guess it's been okay so far. I guess in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wonder about with these kinds of screwball, goofy religious ideas is, do people think, yes, it's true, this Xenu story really is true? Like L. Ron Hubbard somehow... how did he know it?
Exactly. Did he ever say, where did he get this? This would fall into a religion, the divine revelation, to know how this actually happened.
How did he know?
No, I don't think anybody ever asked him. He just started writing.
Yeah.
Was he channeling?
I don't know. Yeah, right. Did an angel talk to him? I don't know. Or Xenu himself. So one possibility is people actually buy into the crazy story. Okay? Another possibility is people think, the crazy story is a little crazy, but it's
been working for me.
It's been working for me. It's been helpful. I think a lot of Mormons have this attitude.
Yeah.
It's like I don't really believe all this.
If you pinned them down, you said,
"Do you really think this stuff?" Because a lot of the things that Mormons
the tablets
promote,
and the hat and
some of it is just so straightforwardly wrong that most people would say,
but it's a nice lifestyle.
The people are nice, and they're
kids
all loving,
and family and
it's
community.
Exactly, right. So there's that. But then there's also another possibility, which would be sort of more of a Jordan Peterson kind of an approach to it, which would be to say, no, the story of Xenu is not actually true, but it represents something that's true.
Yes, that would be a Petersonian approach.
Yeah,
and although I don't know why it would be necessary to have intergalactic federations. Sell your point, but
that's right. Yeah, so there's that. And then another element to all that is just the group element. Once you get in, once you have friends, once you're in this group of people, they all love you and you're having fun and you're part of this group and you feel all charged because, I'm part of this group, you're much more likely to believe the other things that people in that group believe. I mean, it's like being a team or anything else. You're part of a group and you buy into the standards of that group.
I guess so. So when you see some high profile people who have left and revealed the downside,
right?
I'm sure they say, well, there's going to be a disgruntled.
There's disgruntled everybody's.
Yes.
There's disgruntled.
Blabbermouth.
Yeah.
And, just because, what happened was she wanted this from the group. We didn't give it to her. She says, well, I'm leaving and I'm going to badmouth you to everybody. Yeah. And that would be their defense. Yeah. And it's not like it's never happened before.
No, it happened. Every single group, you're going to find people who left and are mad about it, who are going to tell you all kinds of bad stories about it. That's just the way it goes.
Right. But you can't necessarily say, well, then that person's right, and everybody who's stuck with the group and appears to want to be there, they're wrong. So we listened to the Skeptoid version, and this is that's what it is. It's a professional skeptic on the thing. And so, yes, obviously he's going to poo-poo the Xenu story and all of that, but he was very generous in the end.
He was. He was, like, his reaction was, these people seem to be living decent lives, and
some people thrive under a
bunch of rules,
a strict regimen. Works for some people, and it helps them organize. And I don't know. I've seen a lot of lifestyles that are a lot more destructive than this, and I'd say just leave them alone. It's like, really? I was surprised that he was that generous.
I was surprised, and although to some extent I sympathize with that view, which is, if it's working for you, fine. The other side of it is there's a very negative side in terms of the pressure on families. Like I don't know if you remember in the Jordan Peterson interview with that guy, how emotional he got when he talked about his experience leaving Scientology. Because so he's a Scientologist, his wife is a Scientologist.
Her parents
are Scientologists. Her parents' other kids are Scientologists.
Right.
And his mom was a Scientologist. So, like, if they were to leave, then the grandparents had to decide which kids am I gonna give up on, right? Because if I stay with the kids who are leaving Scientology, I have to leave the kids who are in Scientology. If I stay with the kids who are in Scientology, so it creates some really
that's messed up.
Sick. It's
that
sick.
Is messed up.
It's very messed up. So
so you're less generous.
I'm less generous for that reason.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I think that cultiness aspect of it is pretty destructive, and same with like this woke thing. It's like if you can't get along with your parents because they voted for somebody you didn't like. Good grief, what's wrong with you?
Yes.
For heaven's sakes.
Maybe they should cut you out of their lives because you're such a creep.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the original question. What are you saying here? Do you have to choose, or can you just?
You have to choose. So I think I hate to say this. I really hate to say this. I think I would rather the woke than the Scientologists.
I think it would be easier to get through to them later.
Yes.
There's
less overhead.
Yes. Yeah. You just have to once they grew their hair back and
took out the nose rings and everything else.
4 years from now, when they realize that nobody's in concentration camps and the economy in the world is a better place, they might. They might
actually get over it.
Yeah. So 4 Thanksgivings from now, everything will be fine.
That's right.
Where in Scientology, probably not.
Probably not.
All right. Well, cheers.
Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.